Big time, knowing that diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine.
Oh, yes, everybody. This is the DFS Army Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Flex Matt. He is Brandon Adam, and we are back together again, Brandon. Whenever we get together, it seems that we have a good old time. You know, we are going to be doing more you and I in the off season for drafts. I think that was content I really liked, helped us formulate a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, we have had some lulls in the industry. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily with just us. I mean, Chris Olave was basically a dud last week. Waller, not. I mean, now Waller's actually tied in like 12 on the year. So, I mean, it's stinky, but I guess it's the right kind of stinky. Devon Achane has has completely broken out. And he has been somebody that you were very high on and always were high on, which is nice. But you and I together, it's magic. Behind us is a picture of T. Swift. Taylor Swift. You know, and just in case any of you Swifties wanted to tune around, you're going to get some nice flex plays on the week as we go in and we try to find what we love about week 5, Brandon. But like I said, some things just went a little awry for the year. The Bengals, they haven't looked good. Puka Nacua, Kieran Williams, dominant fantasy assets on the year, incredibly.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp's coming back this week. What do you think about Cooper Kupp?
I think if they're running with him, I think they're starting him with his normal pretty much workload. I think they wouldn't risk putting him out there unless they felt like he was 100% at this point with what his hamstring is like. I think Puka is going to be fine. Tutu Atwell will disappear. It'll be Cooper Kupp, Puka, and I think Higbee will have some of his role shaved down as well.
Puka Nacua, wide receiver 5 on the entire year.
Oh my God.
Me and you in the backstage here was like Kieran Williams is RB3, Puka's wide receiver 5.
Disgusting.
And you've never seen it before. And Matt Stafford is your best fantasy quarterback, not because he's actually a good fantasy football quarterback. He's quarterback 18, but he produces premier fantasy assets. But as we dig into these games, Brandon, we're going to give the viewers here 6 flex plays as we get through, and we'll call them out.
Yeah. As we talk about these games, we'll call them out.
We wanted to go through the entire slate quickly because, you know, there's a lot to say. There's a lot to say about the just trash that's been in the league this year as far as games played, fantasy football points scored, but there's a lot of guys you might want to target on the trade area. Maybe some guys from the waivers. We don't really get too much into waiver wires, but trades for sure. Be on the lookout for that. So the first game on the slate is the Giants, the putrid Giants, and the Miami Dolphins. Everybody expects the Miami Dolphins to absolutely go off. But what do you think, Brandon?
I think we're going to see a lot of Devon Achane with this game. It's got some weather involved in this game as well, some rain. I see some checkdowns for Tua. They aren't going to be able to pass rush much. Giants won't be able to get to Tua. Tua actually has one of the cleanest pocket rates out of all quarterbacks on the league right now. Hence, if they can't get to him, that means Tyreek Hill is going to get open downfield. So big plays. I think it's going to be a lopsided smash win. Everybody's going to eat for Miami, except for Chase Claypool.
Oh, God. Chase Claypool, the future tight end of the Miami Dolphins. What about Waddle? It's been just really weird with Waddle all year. I mean, he is a top-end dynasty asset when we know he can be. He hasn't been all year a probable trade target for us, right?
Yeah, I actually kind of like that idea of trading for him right now. But maybe to get him going this week, there's going to be zero. Like I said, I don't think there's going to be much pass rush that Miami's going to have to deal with coming from the Giants. So I think they're going to pick and choose who they want to get open and scheme up. We have figured out that McDaniel is one of the best at scheming up players for heavy weighted opportunities inside the red zone, i.e., for example, Achan. Devon has just smashed in his role since he's been on the giving the clearance with his shoulder. So I'm all for it. I think Waddle is a great buy now. Maybe this is the week, but I don't quite see it this week. But hopefully he gets healthy here soon and we can get a smash week for him. But hopefully you can buy him before that happens.
Daniel Jones missed Darren Waller wide open in the end zone last week. That was apparently what the issue was for Daboll and getting after Daniel Jones on the sideline, frisbeeing the surface. But we still like Waller. I think maybe he's a buy candidate right now, not just because you could probably get him for a bag of peanuts, but you probably want to get him for a bag of peanuts. And if you can, you might as well go get him. He's still tight end 12 on the year. He's got a high target share, somewhere in the 17 range. He was down from last year or last week on target shares, but Darren Waller, let's go out and get him, Brandon. Yeah.
I was in on Waller. I just need to get. I don't know what we're gonna have to do with the Giants' offense. To be honest, I'm kind of staying away as much as possible. But Waller is one of those guys that we liked at a key position. But for this game, for this week, give me Wan'Dale Robinson. I think he's gonna burst onto the scene a little bit. He's had an increase in snaps since he's been off of injured reserve the last 2 games. So I'm excited for Wan'Dale Robinson in this game script because they are going to be forced to throw. Daniel Jones has to throw the football, and Miami gives up points. So I can see Wan'Dale scooping himself up 8 to 10 targets this week and be a good flex play for people.
Yes, for the audio listeners who can't see this, we're going with the Taylor Swift Friday. We got Taylor Swift as the background image on the video. I mean, the Swifties are here. They're here. They're going crazy. I love Taylor, big Taylor Swift guy myself. Carolina Panthers, Detroit Lions, a huge line here. There was a huge line in the first game as well, plus or minus 12.5 or plus 12.5. You have plus 9.5 for the Lions. Now, Amon-Ra, what do we do with him?
He's banged up. He's going to play. That guy's a warrior. He's going to play. You start him no matter what. Just leave him in your lineup if he's active and on the plan. Outside of that, I don't take Amon-Ra out, period.
We love David Montgomery. I know that was – I wouldn't say that's a miss. I mean – it is a miss. I mean,
that was my miss. That was my miss. I'll admit it. That was my miss so far this year. I've been a big Gibbs guy over Monty, and as of right now, that's big time wrong. So we'll see what happens towards the end of the season. But like we've said, top 12 draft pick RB with Jahmyr Gibbs. Every single one of those top 12 running backs that were selected in the first round end up being top 12 assets the next year in fantasy. I'm still going to stick with it. It's not even close to the end of the year. Let's hopefully get some Gibbs love out there. Let's go. It's a good week for it, I think. Any kind of week will help for us Gibb owners. Come on, man. Come on, Dan Campbell. Come on.
It hurts. It hurts. I was listening to a podcast. I forgot where, but they had somebody on that is a former NFL running back or something like that, but they said something about why Gibbs really isn't getting all the rush shares. It looks like if you're a defensive player, you can kind of tell what's going to happen based off what the running back, how he's leaning, where he's looking, what he's doing. And apparently they're just able to kind of judge what Gibbs is doing a lot easier than a David Montgomery and just how he lines up, what's he's doing. But it doesn't matter. We saw it last year with Jamal Williams. We're seeing it again this year. We were fooled because of our rookie love. It's okay to agree that we're out of there. Where we hit on that offense was definitely Laporta. Amon-Ra, which we were high on Laporta in the offseason. We love drafting Laporta at 2.1 in our rookie drafts.
Yes.
Which has been great. Laporta is the number 1 tight end in all of he has the most production out of any rookie tight end in his first 4 games ever.
Yeah.
So it's really, really good to see this. It's good to see offensive NFL football teams targeting our young tight ends instead of getting them out there. Dalton Kincaid was also one, and we'll move on once we get out of the Lions area. But Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Okay, Pittsburgh has not looked good. Mitch Trubisky is starting. The line still is only 4.5 on DraftKings. On DraftKings it is, but it just seems like what? That's right.
He's my best friend. He's my pal. He's my homeboy, my rotten soldier. He's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
Brandon, your first flex play, your guy. Give it to us here.
It's Zay Flowers this week. Odell's back. He's active, which is kind of good. I like that. It'll help create some more room out there for people or for Zay Flowers right now. But Zay is obviously the wide receiver 1 on this offense. I think Lamar is starting to pepper him with more and more targets. First game was 10 targets. Second game was 5 targets. Third game was 10 targets. Last game was 5 or 6 targets. I think we get back to that double-digit targets there. And the reason why is because, you know what? The Pittsburgh Steelers can't stop anybody. They can't stop anybody. Levi Wallace, he's atrocious, okay? He is giving up an abundance of fantasy points this year, and he's actually giving up 3. He's given up 3 touchdowns as well this year, which is obnoxious for the amount of touchdowns for only being week 5. So he is one of the weakest links on that secondary. And also they got Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson was talking some noise this week about Zay Flowers. And guess what? I think Lamar is a petty guy. I think he sees that stuff. I think he relishes that stuff. And I think Zay Flowers gets in the box this week and gives you at least 15, 16 fantasy football PPR points.
We love it. Yeah. Zay Flowers, big Pickens guy over here.
I like Pickens too. Yep.
Flex Mike, he's great. But Pickens, ew. I mean, you don't love to see it. The Baltimore defense is a stout defense. I mean, you don't get it's not a walk in the park is what they say, but you now have your backup quarterback, Mitch Trubisky, which I mean, I guess he's a great quarterback. I mean, I wouldn't say great, but like in the sense that
for a backup,
he's a great option to come in. Now, we've seen preseason quarterbacks get destroyed in the NFL this year. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Aiden O'Connell.
I think the Ravens smashed the Steelers this week.
I agree. I think Ravens smash as well, but I think it's going to be a Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews week. We don't really like much of the Steelers anything right now. I would say we're going all in on the Ravens, put them in our leagues here. But Houston Texans, Atlanta Falcons, Atlanta hot garbage. We're hoping for a Taylor Heineke. We are just hoping and praying, but we will have nobody on the Falcons outside of Bijan. Bijan's elite, #1 dynasty football player in all of dynasty fantasy football. That's just because the hot commodities these running backs are. But what about the Texans? If you listen to this podcast in the preseason, we told you CJ Stroud and throw Bryce Young away. Just throw this guy away. He's now gotten to the NFL. He's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL right now as far as passing yards. Brandon, we love Nico Collins. We love Tank Dell. What do you got?
I think this is the Tank Dell week. The way the matchup works, AJ Terrell is going to be on Nico Collins quite a bit this week. So I can see CJ going elsewhere. The weakness in the secondary is going away from Terrell. But Nico Collins, if they try to man up and play some man press with Nico Collins, Nico's going to win one-on-one. He's going to win that. So I think Stroud is he's just stroking he's just making every throw there is, to be honest, on time, with execution, with anticipation. That's what is telling me he is settled in as a pro, is that when these rookie quarterbacks are throwing with anticipation and with their guy covered when they throw the football, but by the time that football gets to them, they're uncovering that. Those are the windows that Stroud was killing in Ohio State, and now he's doing it again as a pro. And I think the Colts have enough firepower to make Houston chase a bit. So I think that could happen with Jonathan Taylor coming back. That is going to be a big narrative
Colt,
there.
You just switched to the Colts here.
Yeah,
we were on the Texans, Falcons. But
Texas Falcons. I'm sorry. Yeah, Texas Falcons.
Bijan, you mean?
Yeah, Bijan
on the other side. Yes.
Bijan. I'm sorry. Those two are kind of similar.
Okay, well, let's just go ahead and move on here.
He's my best friend. He's my pal. He's my homeboy, my rotten soldier.
Yes.
That's me
with
the Michael Pittman flex play this week. Michael Pittman is again, as we said in the preseason, Brandon, I swear people should follow us in the preseason because we were all over this. In a read option offense, Michael Pittman is going to feast, has been feasting. Now, last week, he wasn't so great, but otherwise, he's averaging over 10 targets a game.
Yep.
I mean, it's a no-brainer, but the real issue about Michael Pittman is that you've had to be forced with starting him over Chris Olave each week because where we told you to draft Michael Pittman, it was in the 8th or 9th round, and now you got to decide, am I going to start Michael Pittman or am I going to start Jamar Chase, which has actually been a crazy dichotomy here. As Shane says, people must follow us in the offseason.
Yep. It would definitely help him with that. We bumped up Anthony Richardson immediately when he was selected as a Colt as well. We all, Mike, Shane, Matt, and I all were kind of off of Young from the beginning. We didn't like the size, and it's coming out. There just isn't enough on offense for him to be successful just yet. He needs to have big-time playmakers like he was surrounded in Alabama. He needs that. He can't just create it on his own like an Anthony Richardson with his feet or, just do some obnoxious play-action pass deep down across his body to the other side of the field type stuff. That's what Anthony Richardson is capable of doing. Same thing with Stroud. But I'm with you. Pittman to the moon this week. I think I'm all for Pittman. When we usually do our pre-show talk, you texted, I got Michael Pittman today, and I started laughing because I was out on the golf course. I was like, that is exactly who I wanted to talk about this week. So we are both on it. I think that's a good sign. I think
you snooze, you lose.
Yep,
my guy,
for sure.
We like the Colts.
Yep.
We also like the Tennessee Titans as far as Derrick Henry is concerned. Hopkins, I don't love playing him. What do you like about playing Hopkins, if at all, this week? Or are we shading Hopkins a little this week?
I'm out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Moving on. Another atrocity of a game this week is the New Orleans Saints going against the New England Patriots. The battle of the news, okay? But we're not there yet, Shane. Jesus. I got Shane in the comments. Give me a second here, Shane. The battle of the news. Now, it's tragic. It's tragic. They benched Mac Jones last week, the Patriots did. They lost their two best defensive players, one, Matthew Judon, and two, Christian Gonzalez, who is a stellar corner.
Yep.
Not as stellar as my boy Devon Witherspoon, but is it Devon or Devin? I don't know.
I don't know. Who cares?
It's at this point. Go JSN. We saw uptick last week, but the Saints and Olave, it was tragic last week. It didn't work out. Derek Carr came back, turned right back into a pumpkin, and it was really, really hard to see. Do we go back to the Chris Olave train this week?
So I saw that kind of game coming down the pipeline because Winston was slated to start, guys. And then Derek Carr got cleared really late for his AC joint separation in his throwing shoulder. Those injuries really tend to hurt quite a bit for a couple weeks, at least. If it's a grade 2, at least. Grade 3, that means you tore some ligaments, the collarbone's moved. So if that is what the case for Carr, him battling through and trying to play, I think that was bad for the team. They should have just let Winston roll with it and let him sit for a week. That's why our guy Alvin Kamara came back, and guess what? Came back and got 14 targets last week because Carr couldn't throw it downfield, man. Just couldn't do it. So I just have a feeling that Olave will bounce back this week. I feel like Carr will feel a little bit better. Hopefully the swelling goes down and his range of motion returns a little bit better for him this week.
Yes, we don't like anything going on in the New England side of life. Ezekiel Elliott has been taking a lot. I mean, we all told you that was going to happen, but like the fact that it is legit happening is crazy.
It's disgusting.
It's crazy. Go and buy Olave this week.
Yes, I like that call. Buy Olave.
Go buy Olave, settle for a Michael Thomas if you have somebody you just want to dip off or nothing. If you can grab Michael Thomas as a throw-in and you don't have Olave, I really do like that, because if it's true that, you know, Carr is an absolute pumpkin, then maybe Olave, you know, can't get downfield. We're on the opposite side. We probably are mid-tier on Carr, so we like to go buy Olave, but grab Michael Thomas just as a throw-in on a trade, see what happens for
Why
it.
not?
Why not? Philadelphia Eagles, LA Rams. This is actually kind of a big game here, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Kieran Williams, Puka Nacua, we have both of them on our teams. Cooper Kupp is slated to play this game. They did say they're probably only going to play him about 85 to 90%, or at least that's
enough for him. Start
him. Okay. That's probably a hot take that we'll take into the week this week for you, Brandon Adam. He's not a flex play, but if you're saying start him, that's a big stamp. So
start him.
I kind of lean that way too, just because, I mean, with the hamstring issue, the point is not to throw your guy in to try to win games. I mean, what do the Rams think they're going to do this year? Are they going to freaking Bialy comes in with the eyes? That's what I'm saying, Bialy. What do the Rams think they're going to do this year?
If you listen to McVay, they think they got a chance, man. They think they can be second in the division and make a wild card for sure. That's on their range of outcomes. If Cooper Kupp can come back and be 90% of Cooper Kupp, that is somebody I'm always interested in having in my lineup, period. There is no chance I would sit him this week. When we're talking about professional athletes, and when you're sitting for extended time, like what that has happened with Kupp, when they tell you they are active and good to go, more often than not, they are going to return to the role that they are supposed to have. Okay, and they wouldn't bring back Kupp and risk it if they thought he was going to tear his hamstring or shred his hamstring this week if he returned back and played, 75% of the snaps this week. So if I'm getting 75% of the snaps this week, give me Cooper Kupp, period.
It's quite incredible because Kieran Williams, you shouldn't even be asking questions about whether you're playing him each week or not anymore. Nope. Not only is he a top 5 fantasy football running back, he is generally top 5 week to week. There are very few running backs that get his type of usage, his type of role, and in the game plan. It's crazy because he's slow and he's not very good, but the Rams and McVay seem to be on him. So but do we like anybody else besides the nuts here in this game? I mean, Philadelphia, it's been bad for Goddard all year. A lot of sharps told you that. Mm-hmm. We weren't the ones gonna tell you, but we just knew that in order for the Philadelphia Eagles offense to really get going, they really had to be exactly what they were last year, which means you have 2 number 1 wide receivers. But the difference this year is A.J. Brown is getting awfully fed ever since crying on the sideline. But you, Brandon, were always on A.J. Brown this year. He's looking like a great play week to week. Well, obviously week to week, but when we drafted him, even in the first round this year.
Yeah. Oh, I was drafting him at 8. a lot of the summer. So most of those teams are doing very well. What really needs to be talked about is DeAndre Swift of the Philadelphia Eagles here. That it's a beautiful sight seeing a team use a talented back like DeAndre Swift the way he's supposed to be done. Give him the workload. Let the guy get in rhythm. Don't be afraid to give him the ball inside the tackles. It's been he is behind one of the best offensive lines in the league, but you know what? DeAndre Swift is making plenty of his own plays this year. So Swift is outside the top 10 for matchups this week, but I still have him as a top 12. He's right there at 12 for me. So I think that is a good spot for him this week at top 12.
Smash the like button, hit subscribe. We're talking about Kelsey and Swift right now. DeAndre Swift, and not the Travis Kelsey, but yes, his brother Jason, okay? So that's the Swift-Kelsey combo that we're in our fantasy football week to weeks. And right now, Travis Kelsey, he's getting into the prima donna. Bialy, let's get weird. Lazard, Shaheed, Gallup, Marshall, Mingo.
Lazard.
Need one in big trouble here.
Lazard got a great
Lazard.
matchup. Lazard got a great matchup. I think he's going to get some red zone looks. Aaron Rodgers was on Pat McAfee talking about Zach Wilson a little bit, stated that Alan Lazard is one of the guys that Zach is very comfortable with. So they have some very designed plays that Zach Wilson loves to throw that are specific for Alan Lazard from what the drift was. I'm going Lazard, but Gallup is interesting this week as well.
It's really, really deep this week. When I was looking at my flex plays and just things that I liked, Lazard actually popped up on there as well. Not to mention, where is Patrick Surtain going to be and what's he going to be doing?
Doesn't matter. He's putting like doo-doo. That guy
Surtain is not doo-doo.
It doesn't matter.
The defense is playing like doo-doo.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to say that I like Lazard in a weird one. Like we said, Bialy, I like Lazard in a weird one.
We should definitely talk about that game.
I can't feel like Shaheed's playable right now. Derek Carr's not looking good. Gallup is probably the other one. So we'd go Lazard, Gallup, but it's up to you. Don't want to be the reason why you hate us anymore. Okay. Cincinnati Bengals, trash. Arizona Cardinals, T. Higgins, out. Not really playing. Not doing well all year, really. Had one game. Nobody on the Bengals have done well. But Jamar Chase, if you ever get a smash week, this is the week. You either want to hyper aggressively go to buy Jamar Chase before the next 2 days happen, or you really want to start to believe that you might be looking to trade him after this week, because that's what Vegas is saying. It's a smash week for Jamar Chase. He's probably going to be one of the most highest owned guys in DFS, over under a 44.5. But we've seen the Cardinals play well. What do we like here, Brandon?
I definitely like Chase, but I think where the Cincinnati Bengals, what they need to do is establish the run. They need to establish the run. If they can establish the run, the offense will get in rhythm, take a little bit of pressure off of Joe. It doesn't have to be Joe just dropping back a million times and getting pass rushed and smash every other play. Let's get Joe Mixon the football, a guy that's RB21 on the season right now, not performing that great. I think this is his smash moment in the year against Arizona, where this is the third best matchup for running back position, and Joe has a 79% snap share of the RB position. That is obnoxiously high. Mixon should get in the box this week. Let's just see if we can get the line to play a little bit and establish a little bit of room. I think they can do that against the Cardinals. Give me Joe Mixon this week as a flex play for sure.
Yeah, Joe Mixon is probably going to be high owned in DFS, but on your fantasy football teams, which is what we're talking about. But if you want to grab DFS content from us, of course,
yes,
they are winning hundreds of $1,000s over at DFS Army go to dfsarmy.com or follow us at DFS Army Fantasy Football. That's us. Yes, it's probably a smash play. Tyler Boyd's going to be a great play for us this week.
Yes, that's another decent play for sure. I like that one. I think they're just going to lean on they got to just lean on Mixon a little bit, just a little bit.
I understand as well. Yep, Marquise Brown. I was looking at fantasypoints.com. He's rated about the 18th wide receiver this week, so we like him. I was almost thinking about B. Ollie there. Can we find Tyler Boyd in there over Lazard or Gallup? That's probably one I like. I mean, Tyler Boyd seems to find the end zone. Yep. I can appreciate that.
I can appreciate that one.
Cardinals. Sure. Now we like James Conner this week, right? Yeah. Don't we, Brandon?
Yes.
Hold on. I
actually like both RBs in this game. I just kind of jumped to Mixon because he has the better matchup, but James Conner, this guy is a true 3-down back that's got an established workload. Dobbs is balling out this year, man. The Cardinals look good on offense. It's fun to watch because you just don't expect it. And Dobbs is making a lot of plays out there, but James Conner is the heartbeat of that offense and will get in the box as well. The defensive line for Cincy is not great. You can take advantage of them on the ground a little bit, and Arizona should keep it close enough to where the run will be used quite a bit.
Dobbs is an intriguing thing because I really liked Clayton Tune, and it's probably not to say that Clayton Tune couldn't probably go in there and play, but Dobbs came over from the Browns. Then you had Watson sit out last week. Dorian Thompson-Robinson got smashed. So you kind of would have to believe that, okay, the Browns don't make that trade. Maybe they win that game, or maybe that might happen some more. I'm not too sure. If Watson goes down, Dobbs sure looks like a great stash. But, it really is weird because we really hate Jonathan Gannon. Like, we don't like the guy. He's weird and awkward, but the team seems to be really rare.
They like him. Yeah.
And the front office, they have first-round draft picks. They grab Dobbs out of nowhere. Like, I don't know, man. It might be a weird one, but coming into our next game is one of the highest, if not the highest, over-under on the week. That's 53 points. I don't know if there's more or not. We haven't got the other ones. Kansas City Chiefs go against the Minnesota Vikings.
He's my best friend. He's my pal. He's my homeboy, my rotten soldier. He's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
Player that I like in my deep. I'm talking about I'm in a 14-team shallow bench. The draft was tough, but I'm still hanging in there. I've lost a couple guys from injuries, but a guy that I've been stashing since my draft was Rashee Rice. This week, I really like Rashee Rice in this game because he's getting targeted now at a more consistent rate, not to mention his snap percentage has gone up. He really only has to usurp Sky Moore, and it looks like they want a more prototypical look out there, which they're not getting from either Tony or Sky Moore. I just think he hasn't scored since week 1. It's going to be a high over-under if Kirk Cousins comes through and we can actually see the game get into that 34, something like that, something crazy. Yeah. I really like Rashee Rice to be really solid for you in a deep flex option this week.
I like where your mind is going with that one. His snap rate is going up each week. Let's see if he gets into the 60 percentile this week. If he can get a nice jump, 10% jump in snap share, that should be more looks. He was tackled twice inside the 5. I think last week or 2 weeks ago in one game. So he has opportunities in the red zone. So I'm right there with you, Matt. Always bet on these over and under. It's always good to put your faith in the big over and under games like Kansas City game right here.
Yep, and this one isn't a fake one. There can be some fake over-unders where you're looking at, just like the Miami over-under is pretty high, I believe. Hold on, let me just take a look here. 47.5. I guess that's not incredibly high, but 47 to 53, that's a pretty big difference. But where the other game, 47, is you just might expect that the Dolphins score 47-0. You never know.
Yep.
But this isn't one of those fake ones. This is a high over-under where you could really attack it. But the things that I'm a little nervous about is our Jordan Addison. I mean, now that was a battle between me and you preseason that I'm getting the best of you on right now, which is Jordan Addison over Njigba. Even though Njigba's my guy, you could completely foresee how Jordan Addison can feast in this offense with the amount of opportunities that Kirk Cousins is giving his team. But Osborne has seemed to be in the one that's either out snapped or out fantasy pointed him. Do we like that to change a little, or do we think that may just be how we ride this out?
I think we talked about it a little bit during redrafts, draft season, where we talked about Hawkinson and the vacated targets that Adam Thielen had. Is Addison really going to be able to fill all that opportunity? Is he going to be able to get all those red zone opportunities? It seems like that's a no as of right now, because Hawkinson is Kelsey right now. Hawkinson is getting obnoxious targets. He's getting run, and I don't see why they would change it right now, because Kirk likes throwing to the big fella. It's easy to throw those seam balls, and Kirk is very good at it with Hawkinson. So I don't think Addison's going to be a full breakout until KJ Osborne either is not in the picture or he just outperforms him finally, just straight up. But
Kirk Cousins is going to go down as the most underrated quarterback that probably ever played the game. I mean, the truth of the matter is, if the Jets were to have traded for Kirk Cousins and they didn't have an injury, that team would be undefeated right now and completely dominant. I mean, you might say it could lead. I mean, if your quarterback is smart and can give you 50 pass opportunities and attempts a game, and your defense plays like that, it's tough to see how wouldn't be incredible for Kirk Cousins. But as we get into the Jets Broncos, it's a great week. It's a great week, but it sucks to have to watch the Broncos because they are so putrid, Brandon, that it leads to...
He's my best friend. He's my pal. He's my homeboy, my rotten soldier. He's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
Your next flex play on the week, hit us with it.
As our sweet lady behind us with those beautiful eyes right there, Taylor Swift, this game's about karma. Karma of Breece Hall coming back 1 year later against the Broncos, the team that he tore his ACL against last year. He's going to return the favor this week. He is going to have a full-blown workload coming from Robert Saleh himself. The shackles have been released. It's against the nut matchup for RBs for the position for the week against the Denver Broncos. They are absolutely the worst in the NFL against the RB position. Breece Hall, put him in every lineup you can. This is what we're talking about. This is why you drafted Breece Hall this week. It's the big time week. Here we go.
That is music to my guy Mike's ears, Flex Mike, who was just commenting in here, mainly because I traded Breece Hall for Christian Watson straight up a couple weeks ago. That was a trade that was on my side up until this week, potentially. And you're right, Breece Hall. Now, the issues in DFS are that he will be probably one of the most, if not the most, owned running back this week. The coach speak seems to be on his side. I totally had no idea, or not no idea, but completely forgot the idea that he tore his ACL at Denver, which is now I'm in. I think I'm in a lot. I'm in on that.
That's why you come here. You get the goods. You will get the perspectives from a wide range. It's that Breece Hall, revenge. Let's go. It's Halloween season. He's going to haunt Denver Bronco fans this week.
And we saw from Hard Knocks that team, they're a great team. They seem pretty they seem pretty good as a collective.
Mhm.
There's no way Robert Saleh calls up Breece Hall, plays the little, the interview where he said, yeah, wheels are off, training wheels are off of him basically, and then tells the whole team like, hey, whatever we got to do this week, let's get Breece 3 touchdowns, because we just know that's going to rile up the offense, give a little pressure off of Zach Wilson.
Exactly.
And Zach looked good last week. I think we need this.
Exactly. This is a game script where it's not going to get out of hand for Zach, to where they can actually lean on a run game and control the game a little bit. But in the same game, if you're in a deep league, Marvin Mims week is here. This guy is a playmaker. They're gonna match him up and get him a one-on-one, and it's gonna be his yards per target are over 25 yards per target. This guy is an efficiency monster. I love Marvin Mims this week against the probably the second or third DB for the Jets Jets defense, because Courtland Sutton is going to be getting the sauce treatment all weekend. So I like Marvin Mims. That's a shout out for Mark Dickinson too. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't think Sauce is a cover corner, so it's possible that he doesn't shadow Sutton, but it ends up being Judy.
Mm-hmm.
It ends up being a horrible week this week. So Flex Matt loves some Mims. I love Mims. Obviously, this was a Mims forward podcast.
Yes.
I want to say I was probably, I'm not going to say I was the first Mims guy, but like Mims was the top 5 of my original Dynasty wide receiver rankings. I only moved it after draft capital. But next game on the slate, probably the featured game of the entire week, just for real NFL football fans, the Dallas Cowboys against the San Francisco 49ers. Unfortunately, the Dallas Cowboys defense lost their star cornerback, which would have made this week a lot more palatable, but I think it is the CMC God week, where there is no defense that will hold this guy back. And this is a chance for the 49ers. They relish these games. Shanahan loves this, where everybody's going to be watching them, and they go out there and absolutely destroy the Cowboys. It is a Dak Prescott choke week on my end, Brandon Adam. What do you think? Am I right or am I wrong?
I think CMC is you can book him for 2 touchdowns on FanDuel this week. No Elijah Mitchell. Every time Elijah Mitchell's out, this guy gets multiple touchdowns as well. He gets the whole thing. But I think outside of CMC, the wide receiver you want to have is Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk is becoming Brock Purdy's number 1 in base offense sets. He's becoming the wide receiver 1 for Brock Purdy, and I really like Ayuk taking on Lewis this week in a one-on-one matchup. I take Ayuk. He's going to make plays. I see a long touchdown in the future.
FantasyPoints.com has Brandon Ayuk ranked 5th wide receiver on the slate this week, which is pretty crazy. Ooh. But they also have Debo 15. So, I mean, geez, it could be a really high scoring affair. Hopefully, Tony Pollard was another guy that we love. Right? We love Tony Pollard, yes. But unfortunately, although Tony Pollard has had a monster usage this year, he has been under on his fantasy points expected per game. I don't expect this to be the get-right game, but we still love Tony Pollard in fantasy football.
Here's a contrarian take. Here we go. This is why you listen a little bit. The whole Cowboys offensive line, they have not had all 5 starters all year, okay? It's been inefficient in the run game because of that. This week, Jerry Jones came out on radio and said for the first time they're going to have all 5 offensive linemen. That is telling me there's going to be a little bit more movement in the run game, and Dak might get a little bit more time this week. I really like Tony Pollard this week to actually sneak into the end zone a couple times. because I think the Niners will be tough to score on in the air right now because all they're going to do is just double cover Lamb and make Dak throw it to Michael Gallup. I don't think that's going to make it work. For them to win the game, it needs to be a Pollard explosion game. So give me Pollard with the healthy offensive line and a contrarian DFS play. I kind of like that.
Wow. They really gave you a lot of space.
Yes. Wow. Wow. Owen Wilson, dynamite Owen Wilson, loves what you just said right there.
Yeah.
But of course, this is just going to be a game that we want to buy into.
Yep.
The over-under's only 45, but we could easily see that curb the other way. I mean, I like the over on it. I want to shoot for the stars.
It's a shootout. I think it's going to become one of those shootouts of the week for sure.
All right, I'm gonna, you kind of know just by relative assumption, but here's my last flex play on.
He's my best friend. He's my pal. He's my homeboy, my rotten soldier. He's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
Okay, guess this player. Wide receiver 18 on the year in both total fantasy points and fantasy points per game with 11 and 12 targets, or excuse me, 13 and 12 targets over the last 2 games, tied for 3rd place in most touchdowns on the year, 5th in red zone points on the entire year. Who is this player?
I couldn't even tell you. Go for it. Tell me.
Romeo Doubs.
There we go. I like it.
Now, Las Vegas, they're not necessarily a team that you can't go out there and play around with on defense. It's going to be a game that Jordan Love probably wants to win, right? He's an NFL football player. The guy's a DGAF quarterback. He seems to really enjoy leading this offense now. Christian Watson gets another week back, but I'm really not scared of Doubs. The reason is because he seems to be a real nice, safe floor. And we love that. Brandon Ayuk was that for many years for us. And then it's only until now where Brandon Ayuk is really getting ahead of Deebo Samuel, because when you put the guy in the role and you actually give them the ball week to week, he can produce. And that's exactly what Romeo Doubs is doing for your fantasy football team this year. So if Romeo Doubs gets 1 touchdown on top of all of his guaranteed fantasy production, short, intermediate, and deep down the field, the guy's having a 22-point week, a guy that you need to have in your flex. The real issue with guys like Romeo Doubs and Michael Pittman this year aren't that they aren't good and that you want to play them each week. It's just that where you drafted Romeo Doubs and where you drafted Michael Pittman, you have to make decisions on whether you're playing these guys over like Chris Olave and DK Metcalf. And right now, DK Metcalf has been relegated to a flex play just because the way that some of these Kieran Williams, Puka Nakua's, these, Romeo Doubs. I expect Christian Watson to continue his role, but as Watson stretches the field, you're going to have Doubs. We want it to be Musgrave as well, just because we love our rookie tight ends this year. We're pretty high on Musgrave coming into the year, although he didn't play too much in college. But you're seeing exactly what we love about a DGAF QB and a DGAF offensive scheme. I like Romeo Doubs. The Raiders, they don't excite me incredibly, but what I love is that Devontae Adams is still getting a monster target share, monster snap percentage. He is the fantasy points 4th ranked best wide receiver on the week. He's got the nuts. Do they have enough to force that game into a higher point total? Because I just feel like there's 3 touchdowns coming from the Green Bay Packers this week, guaranteed.
I like it. I like Romeo Doubs. He's the volume wide receiver, is proven out. Until Watson shows that he's going to be getting an 8 target game, it's going to be the Doubs show. He's the volume guy. Yeah,
you didn't draft Christian Watson to be a volume guy. You drafted him for the 5 for 132 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, you drafted him like you saw DJ Moore on Thursday. He's not the guy that you're going to get over the middle 12 times a game. It's just not going to happen, but his big play upside ability is there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hit the like button, smash the subscribe button. Let's go win. We got We got Taylor Swift in the background.
Come on, karma. Let's go, Brees Hall. It's about that karma.
For Brandon, Adam, I am Flex Matt. We are the DFS Army Fantasy Football Show. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Go over.
Let's go. Get us out there. Let's go. Send it to all your friends. Let's go.
If you want to win hundreds of thousands of dollars, you follow DFS Army for your daily fantasy football picks. We will see you next week. Thank you for tuning in.
Big time.